Hey everybody, it's Angie and welcome to Hot and Flashy. In today's Foundation Friday for over 50s, we are going to be taking a look at the much requested Makiage Woke Up Like This Flawless Base Foundation. This retails for $45 for 1 ounce and it comes in 50 shades. According to the website, this is supposed to be a powerful streak-free foundation that smooths and evens the skin with an advanced, innovative formula for a flawless, uniform, natural matte finish. It has special optically corrective powders that blur fine lines, redness, and blemishes. They say it's a lightweight texture, buildable, medium to high coverage, 100% cruelty-free, and it says for long-lasting wear, pair with a primer or setting spray. So they are not promising long wear out of this. The packaging is a frosted glass bottle. It does have a pump dispenser. For the ingredients, this is mainly water and silicones. It does have isododecane and talc, which is what makes it more of a matte finish. This does contain fragrance and it's pretty strong. I could smell it every time I put this on. It does dissipate fairly quickly, so that, usually within like 5 minutes of putting it on, I didn't smell the fragrance anymore. So I went over to the Makiage website to purchase this, and there's 2 ways to go. You can either go right to the product page, just pick your shade and do it, or they have a foundation matching quiz that you can take. So I took the quiz. They ask you all these questions about like what kind of foundation do you like? Do you like matte? Do you like dewy? Do you like full coverage? Do you like sheer? And then as it turns out, they only have one foundation and it's matte and medium to full coverage. They also ask you a lot of questions about matching your skin tone. The shade that they matched me to was shade 40. For me, this doesn't look like a super good shade match, but I thought, ooh, that's very yellow for me. That's a little light for me. They do have a little card that they send along with it. It says, wait 5 minutes for foundation to set before checking the shade. So what that means to me is that they oxidize. I usually do 3 days of wearing a foundation to try it with different sunscreens, different primers, setting powder with, without, see how it goes. With this one, I had to condense it down into 2 days. And so I did try to cram everything into the 2 days, which you'll see as I show you the footage. So we're gonna see how it works on over 50-year-old skin today. So I'm 59. I have my fair share of wrinkles, age spots. I have enlarged pores. I have all the stuff that comes with being a sun worshiper for 45 years, which, by the way, big mistake. Don't do that, wear your sunscreen, which is why I wear sunscreen every day. And so I also wear sunscreen under my foundation. If a foundation doesn't work with any of my sunscreens, then it clearly is not gonna work for me. So if you love a thorough foundation review, go ahead and give this video a like. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more hot and flashy makeup reviews and skincare. For day 1, I used my Elta MD UV Elements SPF 44 sunscreen mixed with a little bit of Paula's Choice Super Light SPF 30 as my base. I didn't use any primer because I always like to test a foundation with no helpers on the first day. This has a pretty standard foundation consistency. I dotted 1 pump around the right side of my face and spread the foundation with a damp Beauty Blender sponge. I didn't think it was a perfect shade match for sure. It looked too pale and too yellow for my skin tone. So I went ahead and applied another pump to the other side of my face using the BK Beauty 101 brush. I did have a hard time getting it to blend out smoothly on the brush side. Oh my God, this is so awful. I can't even believe how bad it is. In the time it took me to put on this side, it settled in my wrinkles on this side. It looks terrible over there. It's not really sitting very well on my skin. Definitely goes on better with a sponge than with a brush. Looks heavy, looks like makeup, but anyway, let's give it 5 minutes and see if the color changes. All right, the 5 minutes are up for waiting for this color to adjust itself, and I'd say that it has. It doesn't seem quite as pale or quite as yellowy as it was before. Sorry, I'm wearing glasses today. My goodness. Really removed the foundation from the glasses pad. So if you're a glasses wearer, this doesn't really stick to your skin well, but oh my gosh, this looks so bad. Here's where my glasses were. Here's where it didn't sit in the pores on the side of my nose. Here's where it settled in my forehead wrinkles. Here's where it settled in my mouth wrinkles. Here's where it looks masky and heavy and makeup-y and gross. More settling. Didn't cover up here very well. It certainly is a matte enough finish. I don't feel like the need to powder it, but even though it's matte, it's still accentuating a ton of pores and texture. Like it's not doing anything to blur or smooth my skin, which is what it promises. I went ahead and applied the rest of my makeup, and with the rest of my makeup on, I thought it looked okay from a distance, but terrible up close. I used powder bronzer and that didn't seem to blend well on top of it. And I used cream blush on one side of my face and that seemed to remove it where I rubbed the cream blush on. The foundation had settled even more into my wrinkles on my forehead and it found even more wrinkles to settle into in the center of my forehead and by the sides of my mouth, and it started cracking on the surface around my mouth. It was a sunny day out and so I thought, well, this is the best it's going to look. I just applied it, so let's go outside and look at it in the bright sunshine and then in natural window light. I mean, there really was no way to get this to look good under any of the lighting conditions because it just looked so bad on my skin. It looked heavy, it looked cakey, it looked like a mask of foundation that was making me look older because it had settled in all my wrinkles. So I was extremely unhappy with it. So even though I hated it, you guys know I have to follow through on these things, so I proceeded to wear it all day. And at the 5-hour check-in, it was wearing off already in a really patchy and not pretty way on my nose and forehead and chin, so that a lot of my redness was showing through really in a blotchy way, and also on the sides of my cheek where I usually don't get much wear off of foundation. The finish, which had been matte previously, was becoming more shiny in my T-zone as the day wore on, so that now my pores were more accentuated. It looked dry like the desert and cracked kind of on the sides of my face next to my mouth. The settling and creasing had spread so that it had found even more things to settle into. So there were some creases right above my eyebrows and in my crow's feet where I never get settling with my favorite foundations. It was making my upper lip look more wrinkly than usual, and it was just overall terrible. Thank goodness I didn't have anything to do that night, or I would have had to wash my face. At the 10-hour check-in, I couldn't wait to get this off. I just couldn't wait to wash my face. Every time I saw myself in a mirror, I was like, oh God, there's that terrible foundation again. It looked very worn off and mottled and patchy at 10 hours. It looked shiny and greasy from a distance, but it looked dry and crusty up close. So at the end of day 1, I was feeling like I never wanted to put this on my face again. I thought, you know, testing over. Who wants to walk around looking that bad for more than one day, especially for 3 days. So yesterday is when I should have done day 2, but I had plans to spend the day with my mom. We went shopping, we went to lunch, we had a lovely day, and I was not walking around looking like that all day. So I wore one of my favorite foundations yesterday, which is the Sephora Best Skin Ever, and I made sure to look at it throughout the day to see if I get that same cracking and settling in my now much more active forehead wrinkles, and there was no settling, no cracking. What I'm saying is it looked beautiful all day. I really never want to put it on again, but you know, I always have to try to make it work. So I used 2 different sunscreens today just so we could get the equivalent of 3 days of testing in. So I used a mineral sunscreen on this side of my face. I used my undefined R&R SPF 50. This was the winner in this year's sunscreen testing video. I love it. It works great under foundation. It does have a little bit of squalane in it, so a dry oil. So I thought it might help this to look a little bit more natural and less, you know, cakey and crusty on this side of my face. And on this side of my face, I went with a chemical sunscreen. I used my Isntree hyaluronic acid watery sun gel. This is a very lightweight fluid sunscreen. So we're getting mineral on this side, chemical on this side. Then I added a primer to this side of my face. I used the Flower Celestial Supernova primer. This one tends to keep foundations out of my wrinkles and help them to last a little bit longer, so I use that over here. So I applied 1 pump to the right side of my face with the BK Beauty 106 brush today. 1 pump wasn't enough with the brush to cover one whole side, so I added a tiny bit more to finish up my forehead, and I used a damp Beauty Blender sponge on the other. Just like the previous day that I wore it, it goes on much better with the sponge than it does with the brush. It goes much further with the sponge too. I was able to do the other side of my face and my neck with one pump. I used 2 different setting powders just to see which one worked better. On this side of my face, I used Wayne Goss's the Weightless powder. This is a really nice mattifying powder. And then I used one of my favorites, the NYX Matte Mineral Powder on this side of my face. I actually have something to go to tonight, so I'm hoping that this will be better today because it's my niece's high school graduation. So I don't want to be looking like the wrinkly crypt keeper. So throwing all these other things at it to give it a try, is it a whole lot better than it was the first day? I would say it's not a whole lot better, but it's slightly better than it was the first time I used it. I used the Physicians Formula Butter Glow Palette for the bronzer, this shade here, and I applied it with a brush. And I've noticed that where I applied it up here, it removed the foundation. So my coverage up here is very, very patchy. I also used the Tower 28 blush today. This is like a cream blush, applied it, and it removed the foundation where it was. It doesn't look bad because the blush is there and it looks nice. I've been wearing this for about an hour. I gotta say, it is settling in my wrinkles already, and that is not making me happy. I'm getting much less settling on this side with the R&R sunscreen, and I feel like this side in general looks better. I don't feel like this side looks bad. I don't feel like it looks heavy, cakey, dry, or anything. Then on this side, I don't know if it's the Wayne Goss powder or the sunscreen, but it just looks really like dryish right in through here. All right, so I just stepped into a closet without the lights on and took the flash picture about, arm's length away. This is definitely giving me flashback. I have like a big white face there compared to my neck where I don't have the foundation. Fail on the flash photo test. All right, hey you guys, I am back. It's time for the 5-hour check-in. I think it looks fine. I think it is getting shiny and a little bit kind of luminous looking around my T-zone, just like it was the previous time. I think it is starting to show signs of wear already at only 5 hours. It's a little bit thin right up here where it had settled in my wrinkles. It's still settled in my wrinkles. I'm still not finding it to be the most natural looking thing on my skin. It definitely looks like makeup sitting on the surface of my skin. It's definitely looking like drier and more wrinkly, and it's definitely accentuating these diagonal wrinkles here on my upper lip, which my favorite foundations don't accentuate them. These just make my lip look more wrinkly when I'm talking, and I don't like that. It's not beautiful. It's not making my skin look beautiful. I like a foundation that makes my almost 60-year-old skin look way better than it is, and this isn't doing that. Hey everyone, I am back. It is time for the 10-hour check-in. It's 10 p.m. and I've been out at my niece's high school graduation all night. I left thinking that this makeup didn't look hideous, and so it was okay to not wash my face and go. Oh my God. Did it crash and burn over the last 5 hours at some point? Yeah, it's looking pretty bad, and I actually asked a couple people at dinner what they thought of it, always getting the opinions, and to a person they said, wow, it's really, really yellow. I was like, no. And they were like, except for the parts that are really red where it's all worn off. And I was like, what? Oh no. So I had to go in the bathroom and look, and I was like, oh gosh, I should have washed my face and put on some nice looking makeup before I went. I don't think you cannot notice how red and worn off it is on my nose. It's like patchy and bad, and I look like a little Rudolph situation. Still caked in my wrinkles up here. Still faded there where it didn't apply well. Looking really dry and really cakey and really just bad all around. So, and it looks a little bit greasy. So all in all, I would say that this is one of the worst looking foundations that I have tried. Let's go over the pros and cons so I can wash this off and go to bed. So on the pros side are that it was comfortable to wear. And that's all I got. On the con side is everything else. It settles into wrinkles, it gives me polka dot pores, it looks like makeup sitting on the surface of your skin. It doesn't look natural or skin-like at all. It has a short wear time. It starts looking terrible from about 5 minutes after you put it on, so it never looks good all day. It can be finicky about what sunscreen you put under it or how you apply it. It didn't work well with powder makeup that you put over it, that removed it. It didn't work well with cream makeup that you put over it, like blush, that removed it. It gets shiny throughout the day. Also looks like super dry, like the desert in some areas. It clings to dry skin, and it looks dry and cakey. It's not like it was super cheap and the price was great. It's not like they gave me a perfect color match. Very yellowy, and it oxidizes. So anyway, all in all, a epic fail, and probably, yes, one of the worst foundations I have ever tried. I always like to leave you with what foundations do work on my more mature, less than perfect skin, one of which I have already mentioned in this video. It is the Sephora Best Skin Ever. This is beautiful. As I said, I wore this yesterday. It just wears all day. It doesn't need a lot of helpers, and it's only 20 bucks, and it comes in so many shades. This is a great foundation. Another holy grail of mine is the #1 de Chanel. Also a beautiful foundation that doesn't settle in your lines, doesn't settle in your wrinkles, wears all day, just gorgeous. So those are two of my faves. I always list my top 5 in the info box below the video, so you can check those out. I also have a running list over on my blog of all the foundations I've ever tried, and you can see them over there ranked from best to worst. So that link is in the info box below the video as well. So that is it for the review on Il Makiage Woke Up Like This foundation. So if you found the video helpful and informative, go ahead and give it a like. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. As always, I thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate your watching. Have a great day, and I will see you in the next video. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.